We have Rahul Munjal joining us on the show. He's, of course, joining us from the sidelines of the India Global Forum, and he is the CMD at Hero Future Energies. Rahul, hi, good to be speaking with you. Thanks so much for making time and speaking with us. Well, energy transition is the biggest theme which is playing out right now. I think one of the biggest in the century. Do you really think that India is, at par in its journey of energy transition versus the rest of the world, or do you think we are lagging a bit behind the curve?
If we compare ourselves with the rest of the world, India is far ahead of what the rest of the world is doing. There's probably only about two countries who's doing more renewable energy than India. So as far as our commitment towards UN, towards the CDGs, as far as our commitment towards becoming renewables, we're doing a fantastic job. So we are amongst the leading countries in the world. There is no comparison between what we are doing and what others are doing. uh, that's one side of the coin. The other side is, can we do more? Of course we can. We have intentions of going to 50 gigawatts, and I think in the next 2 3 years we can reach a scale where we put up 50 gigawatts every year of renewable energy. If you saw what happened right now in the peak summer, the peak power demand went up so high that India is starved for energy. We need energy, and we will continue to need energy, and we will continue to grow how much energy we will consume. So, like I said, two ways to look at it. If you compare us to the rest of the world, we are doing fantastic. The other way to see it is, can we do better? Of course we can.
So, Manjal, let's also talk about the Hero Future Energy itself, what the capacity expansion plans are in India as well as abroad.
So we are growing in India at about 1.5 gigawatts every year, and we plan to continue to grow at that pace for the next foreseeable future. When I say foreseeable, obviously I'm talking about the next 3, 4, 5 years. We are very comfortable to grow at this pace. India gives us the opportunity. So we are in India, we are in Vietnam, we are in the UK, we're in Bangladesh, and but the large opportunity strength of India is scale. So the scale we get is in India. We continue to do other countries as well, but our main focus continues to be India, and our growth keeps coming from India.
Right, Mr. Munjal. Let's talk about solar rooftops, where a lot of push is coming in terms of the policy front as well. So, any plans for you to venture into it, and any specific budget expectations that you have for the sector?
Yeah, so renewable sector is we are always looking at new and different ways to grow in the sector. So we will look at the rooftop space. We are a big player in CNI already. We are a big player in rooftop already as well, and we'll continue to look at the space. And the space seems to be extremely exciting to us. What are the big plans, and what are we looking for from the government? From the government, you know, renewables is in a place where it can stand on its feet. We do not need any more viability gap funding, or we don't need any incentives. So what we do need we like long-term policy. We need policy that we know is going to be certain. So certainty policy in the long run. That's what we need from the government. We need to figure out, along with the government, along with the private sector, along with the banking sector, how can we reduce cost of capital for infrastructure, and especially for green infrastructure. But today, the cost of capital for infra is higher than cost of capital for most other industries, and cost of capital for green is even higher. So we need to at least bring it at par with other cost of capital. So we need to work not only with the government, but also with the banks to figure out how we can do that. So the only thing we need, I guess, we need to work together is to see how we can have long-term um, visibility on policy, how we can have uh, financing, or at least preferred rates for green financing. And the third is maybe what the world needs, not only India, the whole world, is the grid. We need lots and lots of investment in the grid. It could be done by the private sector, but it needs to be done.
Okay, so lots and lots of investment is needed, but what about the funding of that for yourself as well? Are you looking at perhaps the next round of funding, whether private or public? Because I do remember you had some plans to come to the public markets via IPO as well.
Yeah, no, we don't have any IPO pipelines, sorry, IPO plans as of now. We just finished the fundraisers of last year, so we are sitting on a fair bit of dry powder right now. We still need to deploy it. And while we deploy it, we are constantly looking at different ways of raising funds, right? Because this is a industry, no matter how much fund you raise, you're able to deploy it because the world needs lots and lots of renewables, or the transition story is very, very large. And if I was to go by Bloomberg report, the world needs 4.8 trillion, and we're only putting in 1.8 trillion per year. So the gap is huge. So we'll continue to raise funds. Obviously, IPO could be one way. Capital markets is obviously one way, and private markets is another. So we're always open to ideas, and we're always looking for new forms of capital.
Thank you, Mr. Munjal, for running us through those details.
We have Abhimanyu Munjal, who is the Managing Director and CEO at Hero FinCorp. Thanks so much for joining us on ET Now. And last time we spoke, your AUM was about 50,000 crore rupees. You have been actually growing at about 20 to 25%. I want to know if that is a sustainable growth rate.
At Hero, at Hero Group, and specifically at Hero FinCorp, we like contributing towards building India. And I think we are actually touching the social fabric of India. Our purpose of our company is to empower every Indian's dream of upward mobility, which means that we capture a customer very young in its financial age. So today we have about 11 million customers, which is acquired through different loan products, whether it's two-wheeler, car, personal loan, etc. But out of the 11 million customers, 70% of those are first-time credit borrowers. So biologically, they might be obviously older, but we are actually capturing them young in their credit age, which actually enables us to live through the life cycle of the customer, because our philosophy is that India is trading up. And with this GDP doubling by 2030, if I put it simplistically, if you see one car, you'll see two cars. So, of course, there is going to be huge demand of consumption, and there is going to be a huge demand of asset creation. So, we would actually acquire a customer young in its credit age, but the philosophy is to really, as and when the customer becomes more credit worthy and trades up in life from one income bracket to the other, the consumption needs or asset creation needs that they have, we would like to offer them that. So out of the 11 million customers today, our product per customer is roughly 2 products per customer, which I believe is still underpenetrated. And we have an aspiration to grow that. And really, that's how our growth will come. And like you said, March 24, we did close our asset book at 52,000 crores. And we have been growing at 20-25%. And for me, really, it's about the number of customers, the number of Indian lives we touch. And we want to double our customer base in the next 3 years.
Right. So let's talk about the target that you've set actually for your PAT. Around 1,000 crore rupees is the target that you've set for your profit. Do you see this happening soon? Also, which segments do you think would be the biggest growth driver for the company?
So we did, you're absolutely right. I think this is, as per some of my comments a few months back. So we did set a target of 1,000 crores of PAT, but that was not for 25, it was for FY24. And unfortunately, we missed it. But I think fortunately, it kept us grounded because we didn't miss it by a mile. We ended the fiscal 24 at 986 crores of adjusted profit after tax. So we really missed it by a very small margin. But I guess that keeps the whole organization grounded to say now we want to achieve our numbers in the coming future. The growth that we see in the coming years is going to be one from really deepening the customer, like I mentioned earlier, in terms of using a lot of AI, using a lot of digital and marketing technologies to figure out where our customer is transacting and what the next consumption need is of our customer or creation of asset. And we would like to actually increase that product per customer, maybe double that product per customer in the next 3 years. The one line that we are really, really focusing on growing is the housing finance, which is our mortgages, because we believe it's extremely underpenetrated in India. and there is a need to actually provide low-income housing to every Indian. And that's one of the growth drivers that we have in the next 3 years.
So then let's talk about FY 25 PAT instead. Can we expect a target to be anywhere in the range of 1,200 to 1,300 crore rupees?
Have been growing our profit at a CAGR of 32%. And I would like to believe that we keep that CAGR growth in the coming years. Our focus more again is on creating an enterprise which is resilient and which really touches the Indian social fabric, and that's the focus. Uh, we are targeting to maintain the growth rates that we've maintained in the last 3 to 4 years, both in terms of assets and disbursements and profitability.
Munjal, let's talk about the funding needs then. Let's move on to that. Are you well capitalized? Are you looking at an IPO soon?
Businesses like ours are capital hungry, right? And for us, we can only grow as much capital as we get. We can leverage the capital about 5 times, and that's the kind of growth we get. And last round we did was about 18 to 24 months back. Uh, we are funded for the next 12 to 18 months. But in our board, we all discuss different avenues of capital raises. And in our recent board meeting, we did get an approval to evaluate different options of capital raises, which includes an IPO of up to 4,000 crores. So we are under evaluation. We will, have a clearer idea what is the best path we want to take in the coming months.
All right. So the fact that you've taken a board approval to evaluate different options to fundraise, that includes IPO as well. So is there any stage that you are at in this IPO process? Have you hired bankers to look at that avenue?
We have been speaking to bankers. We've hired a few bankers who are actually advising us on what is the right capital raise to be done in terms of what mode, whether it's IPO or private placement. But yeah, we have a battery of bankers who are already hired, who are helping us on this next capital raise.
All right, Mr. Munjal, then all the best for that and hope to connect with you soon once again.
Let's welcome a special guest on the show now. Mr. Amit Kalyani, the Vice Chairman and Joint Managing Director at Bharat Forge Limited, joins us from the sidelines of India Global Forum. Amit, hi, good to be speaking with you. It's been a while, but let's start by discussing the macro picture. A lot has been said and people are calling it is India's century and that India could become the manufacturing cradle of the world. Just wanted to get a sense from you from the supply side of things, whether it's logistics, water, electricity. Is India really geared up to become the manufacturing hotspot of the world?
I think there's nothing that can stop India from being the manufacturing superpower of the next 50 to 100 years. I've spent about 10 days in Europe now on business, and quite frankly, the infrastructure here is at par with what we have in India, and in some cases even worse. And let me explain why. If you look at the expensive infrastructure, which is the digital infrastructure, which is the whole backbone of the future of our economy, we are years ahead of most of Europe. And obviously, the physical infrastructure, which is the roads, the ports, the airports, we know how to get that done. And that those are very modular investments because they are all location specific, and they are they make money on their own, and they're not layered investments. So I think doing those and making them pay and making them happen with a government like ours, I think is definitely doable and is something that will start getting accelerated now.
Okay, so there are no supply side challenges, at least from the government side of you. So the onus is then on the private sector like yourself to spur growth. So let's talk about Bharat Forge then. Do you think the defense business of yours is finally at that inflection point that could be the next growth driver for you now?
So look, we look at the manufacturing business, which is both defense, industrial, automotive, aerospace. and then later on EV will all be growth drivers for Bharat Forge. Defense definitely has picked up a lot of momentum, is past the let's say the learning curve, and is now at the point where it will go from incubation to maturity, and then maturity to acceleration.
Maturity to acceleration, that's the view on the defense business. But what about the overseas business? Because this was supposed to be the year of turnaround and margin improvement. Do you see that happening in FY25?
Yeah, absolutely. We are already on that trajectory. We are now heading towards positive territory, and I think this year we will have a far better outcome than we did last year, and a positive outcome.
Okay, far better and positive outlook for the overseas business. But what about exports? Because they have been fairly lumpy, whether it's in North America, truck orders, etc. as well. Are things looking better on the ground now, whether it's US or Europe?
You have to remove this only connection between Bharat Forge and CV and Class 8. We have a very wide, broad, and geographically diverse business, and we keep adding diversity and de-risking to it. So it will continue to grow. It will continue its trajectory. When some of our businesses where we have a high market share start, accelerating, they will add to our business. But I don't think they are going to detract from the business, even when they are not at full pace.
Okay, so at least it's not going to be a bit of a drag. But let me talk about the domestic CV cycle as well. And if I have it right, your earlier commentary was that it's going to be a flat year as far as domestic CV is concerned. Now, with a better monsoon outlook and a lot of discussion around rural push, do you want to change that view on domestic CV cycle?
Let's wait a little bit for the monsoon, because as you know, monsoon is a big mood, you know, it determines the mood of the nation, at least for a 2 to 3 for 6 month period. And a lot of consumption is driven by that. So I think we need to wait to see how the monsoon performs. But I think should be on a positive track.
Okay, positive track. That is what we'll take at least. But coming back to the defense business of yours, how's the pipeline looking? Because I think you earlier mentioned that almost 80% of your order book is exports. What else is in the pipeline now?
So more than 80% of our order book is right now domestic exports. We have certain large programs where the orders are at the finalization stage. And then you will see an addition to our order book, and that will change the mix.
Okay, we'll wait by for those announcements and negotiations to fructify on defense. But how's Bharat Forge gearing itself for the EV transition then?
Oh, we've made a lot of investments and developed a lot of capabilities for the EV transition. I think we're fairly well placed. And that's a business, I would say, which is still at the incubation phase. It'll move from incubation to, let's say, revenue this year and next year really, and then by 27 it will be in a phase of accelerated growth.
Thank you, Mr. Kalyani, for making time and speaking with us. So that was about the EV business, which is expected to accelerate for 12 to 18 months out. But defense is something which is past the incubation stage, is heading towards maturity and acceleration then. And the overseas business is expected to turn around. So important commentary coming in from Bharat Forge there. Joining us today for a special conversation is Miss Deepa Malik. She's of course Padma Shri awardee. She's also got Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award for para athletics, plus a lot of awards. And she was the first of many with respect to the Paralympic sports that she participated in, whether it was motorcycling, it was discus throw, javelin throw, swimming and a lot more. And more importantly, she's been an inspiration for a whole host of people through her journey. In fact, ma'am, that's my first question to you. At the time in your late 20s when you got this major setback, how difficult was it for you to get the inspiration to restart your life again and turn this adversity into a triumph?
I think the first and foremost inspiration was that I was grateful to Almighty to be alive, because the kind of surgery and the illness that I had gone through, which was repetitive tumors, major surgeries, a repeat of paralysis which happened as a child, and I was paralyzed for 4 years in my childhood, from age of 5 to age of 9, and to know what is the seriousness of this disease. And the way I had learnt about it, I could have died on the operation table. I could have also lost my husband in the Kargil war. So overall, that year of 1999 and that month of June 1999, we were just blessed to be alive. So that was one feeling. The second one was when I was trying to learn my body all over again, because this new body was just below paralyzed with no bladder and bowel control. There was a lot of issues about sensation, blood circulation, breathing, because half the lungs were also impacted. There was no temperature control in the body. So a lot of learning had to be done.
Well, very inspiring indeed. But how difficult was your journey as a Paralympic sports person? Because at that time, para sports weren't popular at all. Forget the fact that it was women there who was going to participate there. Were there times when you really wanted to just give up?
I think I've been brought up in an army setup where everybody believes in a plan B and quickly moving to solution mode, and that has been my journey. I have seen my parents face adversities, financial challenges, and the tough time that they have gone through for 4 years during my illness. Subconsciously, I was tuned to not give up. However, I am a human being. There were moments of disappointment, hurt, being ignored. People didn't have faith in a woman when she went out to say that, hey, let me do some crazy things like riding a bike again. I want to reclaim my life by being a biker again, by trying to drive cars, create some world records, the Limca world records that I created. I want to do everything possible from this body to send out a shock treatment into the society, and it wasn't easy, because being a first woman biker, swimmer, car rallyist, Limca record holder in adventure category, to go out and play at the age of 40, to try and swim across a river, but and they really did not want to, basically everybody wanted to live on a zero error basis, that what if we sponsor you, or what if we allow you to do this and something happens to you. And then I had to exercise my right of choice as a free citizens of a free country. And I think consistency paid off. It had a lot of learning. There were times when it was frustrating, but hundreds of emails, thousands of knocking at the doors. Purpose drove me. It was important for me to do that, not only to create an identity for myself, but also become that beacon of hope for my child and for other women to follow suit. Parasports, people thought, was about jumping from parachutes. That's what a media person asked me when I said I want to be in parasports. So that was the level of ignorance.
We are right at the corner of the Paralympics and Olympics happening this year. Tell me what your expectations are from the Indian contingent.
I'm definitely very hopeful from the Paralympic contingent raising their own bar the way they have been doing it. It's been a steady progress. The graph is only going up. If I compare it to London 2012, where only one medal was won, and then coming to Rio, where four were won, 4 medals from 19 para athletes. And when we talk about Tokyo 2020, 19 medals from 54 athletes. So, where only 19 were participating just in 4 years, despite COVID and pandemic and all that pause that the whole world went through, we were still able to make 19 medals. And what makes me happy is now the medals are being contributed by women para athletes as well. As late as the recent para athletics championship, the world championship that happened in Japan. We had 17 medals, out of which 6 were won by women, and they were golds. And new events like para canoeing, para cycling, blind judo. We are going to be participating in the highest number of sports, which is 12. Last time it was 9, prior to that it was 5. This year, the contingent looks at somewhere close to 75 to 80 because qualifications are still going on. So I'm very hopeful that it'll at least be above 75. The medal tally from 19 should go up to something between 25 to 30 this year. It is looking like a much better Paralympics than before.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, indeed, for making time and speaking with us. Really appreciate you joining us on ET Now.